My name is Ethan.
I'm Pam.
I'm Samson.
I'm Xavier.
And I'm Julia.
I'm Kim.
I'm Gloria.
And
we are the
99. 99. 99.
99.
Hi everyone, my name is Pang.
I'm Gloria.
I'm Samson.
And we are the 99 Podcast. Our podcast is to bring encouragement and to share our stories, our takes on different topics, and hopefully to encourage all the believers out there, especially those in the Hmong communities as well. So we are going to just go ahead and get straight into our topic today. So our topic today, we're going to be talking about friendship, but not like the easy parts of like a friendship. The real life, like messy part of it all. Stuff like trying to balance culture with and faith in friendships, like also feeling lonely even when you're around people, getting hurt or betrayed by friends, and struggling to trust again after the hurt. So we're going to just, again, get into it. So searching for like the right friendship. So I feel like a lot of times people are in the in-between, right? Between where they want their friend, or like who they want their friends to be, or but sometimes it's almost like sometimes church friends, like they understand like you in like a more like spiritual aspect or like a faith aspect, but sometimes they don't understand you like outside of like church. And then you also have friends who are like not Christians or like basically outside of church, who they understand like your culture, right, but not your faith. So you kind of end up in like switching versions of yourself depending on like where you are. So my first question for you guys is, have you ever felt like you have to change or adjust who you are depending on the group you're with?
Yeah, I could take a jab at that. So I feel like actually a lot of times I kind of do struggle with like who I am as a person, because sometimes I do feel bad that I can't be like, I know that there is kind of like a difference when I'm with like my Christian friends and then like my non-Christian friends. And I'm not saying like my non-Christian friends are bad or my Christian friends are good. It's just more like there's a balance between them. And so, but me, because I'm a Christian, I know that I do have to hold that not necessarily image, but it's just kind of like, I know that I have to hold up to these kind of like, I don't want to say standards, but maybe like morals, because I do have to be an example of like Christ. I have to live Christ like, and I don't necessarily find that bad, but it's just like, you know, kind of like it can get twisted up very easily if you make a mistake, right? And so sometimes I feel like I do get a little bit sad, because I'm like, who can I really be genuine with, and who can I really like show my problems to? Because then like I've had it before where they're kind of like, oh, you're a hypocrite, you know, because you say this and you know you act out on your emotions, and then I'm like, yeah, it's true, I do, but sometimes, you know, my Christian friends, they understand that we're not perfect and we're human, you know. So, but I mean, everyone's different, so. But yeah, I do struggle with that.
Yeah, I agree with what Gloria said. It's hard to like, truly be yourself with non-Christians. Sometimes, people will be, I guess, a different, just to fit in, just to like, be a part of that group, because, because you don't want to like, oh, he's a Christian, he can't do this with us, right? And he's gotta, yell at us or, or tell us this and that, right? So like you don't want to be that person. So like you just stay quiet and like, oh yeah, you guys do you're trying to like fit in, but it's hard to like distinguish yourself as a Christian with non-Christian because you don't want to like hurt their feelings.
Yeah, I agree. I think it also is like vice versa too. Like I truly think like for me, when you're with a specific group, you do act a certain way, and then with like another group of people, you act another way. And this leads me to like another question is, do you think it's realistic to expect one group of friends to understand every part of who you are?
No, like I feel like that's I would say it's like impossible because I feel like they can relate and they can definitely empathize, and especially if you are like you have gone through the same situation, then yeah, sure, there's a connection. But I like to think is that everyone really does take it differently, and so I feel like it's not really possible for someone to like really get everything about you, because I mean you're constantly always changing and you're growing and you're developing, and so sometimes like things just don't stay the same. So yeah.
Yeah, like it's people, like Gloria said, people change like every year. Like, oh, I got, I'm gonna be this kind of person this year or next year. So you're not always gonna be the same person. Like a lot of people, like they change their style of clothes or their that trend, all that, right? So like you can't expect someone to still be the same because they will, I guess, grow out of it.
I would agree too. I think it to like an extent where I feel like there is always gonna be like one group who will see like more of you. You can say like for me, realistically, I would agree that it's not one specific group would like truly understand like every part of who you are, but I do believe that there is one group of friend or like a certain person or like friend that will get like probably more of you than
like glimpses like
yeah
of your different stages of life or just who you are with them.
Yeah, because I just think because there are just people you're just more like in tune with or like inclined to be more comfortable with. Not to say like friends like a Christian friend and versus like a non-Christian friend, like you it's like you don't, it's not like you don't care for them and like that, but it's just always like you're always gonna have like what were we saying earlier, where there's always going to be different like personalities or characteristics that you will be willing to share more. And then kind of going into that where I think it kind of falls into like feeling kind of lonely in like familiar places, meaning, like there is always going to be like that loneliness, because honestly, for me, I think you could be surrounded by people and still feel disconnected. Like at church, school, or even like in a friend group, everyone's there, but you still kind of feel alone, right? So I want to ask you guys, have you ever felt lonely even when you were around people?
I mean, I think everyone has experienced that at one point, because it's like, how do I say it? I think maybe an example I could probably bring up is like if you're going through a rough like batch with your like friends, and then it's kind of like, oh, they don't see it the way I do, and so you kind of already feel that ultimate disconnection. But for me, I would also like to bring up an example is that sometimes I think my school friends have a little bit more drive compared to my friends at church. And so I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it's just more like I feel disconnected in that area. But then with my church friends, I feel more spiritually nurtured and kind of like thriving with my relationship with Christ, because, we can help each other with that. But sometimes I just feel like it's like off and on. So I would say is that I do feel like that loneliness.
For me, I think that's like sometimes like for activities at school, back then in high school, like even though my friends were there, I still felt like, oh, I'm not really there, they're not really there. I'm just there by myself. But I think now over time, that feeling is gone because like you start to, I guess, being involved and active with the group, so like you build a better bond and you grow from it. And you also like, especially with church too, like, yes, you're gonna feel lonely because you don't know no one there, or your friends are talking about something you're not really like, familiar with, right? But then it's, I mean, you're there and they're gonna be there for you, and as long as you still interact with them, but keep it going.
I think you do bring up a good point. I think a lot of times, I think that loneliness that you do feel in like a group setting, because for me, I have felt like that before, where you're surrounded by a lot of people, but it's like you guys were saying, there's always like there seems to be like that disconnect. And I think a part of that does come from like how deep or also how, I guess you could say, not deep your friendship or like that relationship actually go. And sometimes I do feel like it could stem from a lot of like conversation, like staying on like surface level, right? So this is something like I've been thinking about too, where it's for you guys to also answer to, is why do you think it's so hard for people to go deeper in friendships even when they want like a deeper connection?
I would probably say like because you're scared to like waste your time. That's at least how I feel, because like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when I had like earlier friendships in like elementary, I thought we'd last like a lifetime,
Forever.
forever. But then when you get hit with that reality, like, oh, like they're not gonna stay forever. Like in some cases, I know that some people have been friends for so long, but for me, when you experience that kind of like break off, or like when your group slowly just fades away, then you kind of think to yourself like, how much more is that gonna happen to you? Because like I said, everyone grows, and so like, and then people just change. And so what was I gonna say? I got a brain fart, but what was the question again?
So the question is, why do you think it's so hard for people to go deeper in friendships even when they want a deeper connection?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I think also another thing is that sometimes like when you go deeper, it's kind of like you uncover some like hurt or like trauma. And so like you get closer through those kind of things sometimes. And so I feel like not a lot of people want to open up, and sometimes it's really hard to open up about those things. And so you're kind of basically showing the person all your cards when they get to know you, and you don't know the other person's intentions yet, because like I said, I'm pretty sure most of us have experienced like friendship heartbreak or betrayal. And so like I know that one time that happened to me, and it was crazy because I didn't expect it from that person, because they're always like, no, you can definitely trust me, it's okay, like I got your back, but little did I know that they were talking about me. And so that is probably like a fear that many people have if they definitely experienced it. So it's harder to go deeper when you don't know the other person's intention, because sometimes at first they come off like that you can trust them, but it can happen to anyone, like non-Christian, Christian, like it can happen to anyone. So
like I'm kind of curious on like I guess you could say like a male perspective, like that's a good thing like Samson's here, but like because I feel like with girls, because I feel we do feel our emotions a lot deeper as well. So I'm just a little curious about like a guy's perspective as like that question as well. So share to us.
Okay. Well, I mean, well, for guys, I think we could basically talk or go into things like sports or like relationship, all that, or all these other things, because like I guess for guys it's just easier or
They're like
more simple, right? Because we're like, especially with sports or like games, all that, or
cars.
shoes and cars, all that, because like I guess it's something that I guess all guys have in common, at least in their time of point. And but then at the same time, it's also hard too when for guys to talk about like like things that they don't know about, or not, they're not really like good at, like fishing or like hunting, all that. If you and things like they haven't experienced, it's hard for them to like talk about it. But things that they have experienced as the other person, then it's more easier, for them to like talk deep or detailed talk about it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree too. Where it is harder. I think for me, I could speak from like experience, because I'm also like the type that it's harder for me to like have a deeper connection with someone, just because I think I do build up my wall pretty like high as well. And then it's like you said, it does come from like maybe like trauma of like past friendships that ended bad. But that kind of leads me to like the heavier topics, how you were also sharing about friendship, the hurting part of like friendship, like not just like the drifting apart, but I guess you could say like the real hurt, right? Like the betrayals, the broken trust, or like pressure to do things you're not comfortable with, or just slowly compromising your values just to keep a friendship. I do want to ask you guys this, if you would like to share as well, is have you ever experienced a friendship that hurt you or changed the way you saw people?
Yes, definitely. I feel like I want to, before I say anything, I just want to say it's kind of like, I feel like a lot of people think that friendships are supposed to be really like, it's like so nice, like sunshine and rainbows and everything, right? I feel like, well, maybe at first, but like when you get older, you start to realize like friendship is actually more, because it's like that human connection. And through life, you're gonna go through the bad, and so like you're gonna have to see like your friends go through a bad like spot. But what I do want to say is that I have experienced friendship betrayal in both in and outside of church. And so you know what, it's actually really crazy to me, because I never thought that would happen. Like I didn't think it'd happen both in and outside of church at the same time, actually. And it's just crazy to me, because like at that point, it's like kind of like, who do you rely on then? Because then you really have no one. Because if it's like happening to you in and outside of church. But wait, can you repeat your question?
So it's just, yeah, like, so have you ever experienced a friendship that hurt you or changed the way you saw people?
Oh, okay, yeah. So definitely it did change the way I saw people, because I don't know. I just, you would kind of think is that like people wouldn't be jealous, or people wouldn't have that intent towards you. And I just want to clarify is that like I'm totally fine with these people now. Like I made up with them when we made up. I don't know how to explain it, but things just randomly just I don't know how to explain it. I do, but I feel like that's another time to like explain. Yeah. But yeah, I think at one point in my life, I think it was definitely during high school. Well, it was me transitioning from middle school to high school. And I just remember, I feel like I didn't notice it at first, but then my wall was built up really high, because I didn't know who to rely on or trust, because like I said, it happened in and outside of church. So, yeah.
I think for friendship, I think you just gotta know, well, people just gotta know, like, it's not all happiness or fun and game, but sometimes you will go through rough patch with your friends, but you just gotta work it out because it's part of being friends. Working out struggles or going through problems with each other, because so like you grow your friendship more. And it once you go through those struggles, you do see like different new perspective of them, but like you shouldn't let that destroy your friendship. You should actually learn from it and grow from it.
I think like for me, I totally also agree. Like for me, I feel like a friendship for me that hurts the most is like friends you make in church. Like obviously I had fallouts before with like non-believers or like people outside of church as well. But like truthfully for me, I feel like the most hurt I felt was from like fellow like believers. Right? Because like to me it was like, we're both like we both know God, right? And the word of God tells us to, love your neighbors, like love, right? That's like the biggest thing that's also taught in the Bible is, love. And like going through like hurt or like a friendship breakup or like trial like that, it like to me it does hurt me a lot more, and it does like shape my view of like people. Like so also like I think it's just because like that I already have like that expectation of like, oh, we all go to church, we know God, like we shouldn't hurt each other, but the truth is at the end, we all are humans, we all fall short of we all fall short, so we're bound to like say words or do things that will hurt people, right? And I think it's also another thing I want to ask you guys. To me, it feels like it's deeper. So the question is a little more deeper. Is have you ever felt pressure to compromise your values to stay included in a group? Because honestly, I think for me, like going back to like, I'm be real, a lot of my friends, majority of my friends are like friends I made in church. And so I feel like when I was younger, like teenage years, like early high school, like I did feel like for me, I had to kind of compromise like my values or like who I was, as a person to feel like I could be included in like a friend, like that friend group. Right. But like now I'm thinking back now thinking back, like I do remember feeling like, oh, this isn't right, like I shouldn't be, saying these things, or I shouldn't be acting a certain way. So, like for me, I have, felt that pressure to compromise like in my values just to feel included in a friend group. So what about you guys?
I feel like I've been talking a lot, so Samson, you should say first.
Like I'm so curious, like I don't know why, I'm just so curious about like the guys.
Yeah, like
because whenever I see guys who are like friends, like I feel like it's so simple. Like most of the times when you hear about friend dramas and stuff like that, I hear from like girls, but then like guys, I don't really hear. So do guys have fallouts too?
I think they do. I think guys do have fallouts because typically those fallouts are due to like the guy not hanging out with the other guy anymore, or he thinks the other guy is like daunting him, all that, right? Or hating on him, or talking behind his back, or even sometimes a girl will come between guys. So like,
dang,
that, I mean, a lot of fallout. Guys go through a lot of fallout too, but like all that kind of stuff. But then some guys, they do, like, I guess they go over that. They find a way to like go over that hill. And sometimes they build up that friendship again. But I think me personally, I have not.
Wait, so you're saying you haven't felt pressure to change
Or-
your
oh,
values
I mean-
to feel included?
Sometimes I do feel that like at work, but then like I don't really, no, I don't do it. Like kind of like, oh, it's like, oh, I kind of try to fit in, but then it's like, oh, at the same time, like, oh, can't really do it because like if I do it, then it's gonna open a bigger door. So yeah.
I don't know if I want to say pressure, but I feel like maybe I just got easily influenced, or because I was like, oh, like they're doing it, so if I do it, maybe I'll look cool too. I can't really recall anything. I don't think any of my friends did anything bad, but I guess for me, one thing is I just started cussing a lot more. So when my friends cuss, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm like, yeah, maybe I should cuss too, because then it looks a little like, I don't know. I just, like I'm thinking
this.
yeah, the first time I ever cussed was in 4th grade, so that was when I feel like that's when I got like influenced. But because I feel like when I didn't, they were kind of like, oh, it's not as funny. But then when I made a joke with a cuss word, they're like laughing hysterically, and I'm like, haha, I'm so funny. But I didn't really do anything. So yeah, I don't want to say pressure, but maybe just influence, because yeah, I mean, even in high school, I honestly cussed a lot more around my friends, and then yeah, they'd clock me and they'd be like, aren't you Christian? And I'm like, haha, you're right. But I mean, yeah, so yeah, I don't think, of course you shouldn't cuss, but I feel like I've heard of more stories that are worse, you know what I mean?
I want to ask, like, how do you know when a friendship is becoming unhealthy or not good for you anymore? Right? Because I think for me, I've been in like long-term friendships before where it sounds like you're in like it sounds like a relationship like that, but like even in friendships where I feel like you've been friends for a certain X amount of years, where it's like for me, I have felt like I've been friends with people for a long time, but I feel like their actions or like the things that they say like doesn't align with like my morals or my values or even like my faith. And I think when it comes to that, like for me specifically, like when I start questioning my actions, or when I start questioning like, or like when I start talking to God or like praying, I'm like, God, is this right? Like, God, should we be doing this? Like instead of like questioning them, like I start questioning God. Like that's, for me, it's like a big, I guess, like signal as well. It's like, if like I feel like it's not glorifying God, like their action, their speech, or even like their just the way they carry themselves, and like for me, I feel like that's when it becomes unhealthy, and it's not good for me anymore. So how do you guys know when a friendship is becoming like unhealthy for you guys?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like you're definitely going to question a lot in your friendship. It's kind of like, oh, like, are we good friends or not? But I think definitely I had to hold it out and see, because I feel like when I gave up too easily, then that means I didn't really like
try.
Yeah, I didn't really try to keep that friendship. So I feel like it starts becoming unhealthy. I feel like it physically already shows, like you're more tired. I feel like for me, I think I had a really bad friendship one time that I like broke out really badly, and I was like constantly tired. But another thing is just kind of like, I feel like when you're just really tired, like it's kind of like when you really can't, like, because I feel like there is a limit, but then when you go past the limit, then you can just already tell. And I feel like that's a little hard for people to understand, but to like kind of make it easier is that in one of my friendships, I would always constantly have to chase them. I would be like, hey, let's hang out, right? But they'd be like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm busy, right? But then I see them post on social media where they're hanging out with someone else, right? And I'm like, sure, maybe that's just like one day, maybe they already made plans, right? But then it was always me constantly reaching out, me constantly wanting to hang out. And so when I noticed that I didn't hold the same value or like to them compared to when I like how I see them, then that's when I realized, I was like, no, this friendship no longer means anything, right? And of course, maybe like, I would probably say like we're kind of like acquaintances, or maybe just like, I don't know. I have a really bad definition of friends. Like, just to let you guys know, maybe because of trauma, I'm joking, but I still look at them as a sister in Christ, but it's just more like, I don't know if I can really consider you as my friend. Like, yes, I love you still, but I feel like I really do also as well want to like
if that deeper relationship,
Yeah.
it's harder to
Yeah.
like get there.
Yeah, another thing is that I noticed is that back then we were really tight. We were really close. And we'd be really more open up to each other, but then as we grew up, I noticed is that they didn't open up to me anymore. And so, I mean, to be honest, I was totally okay with it. I understand is that people change, but it's just more like, I'm not going to really try anymore if it's not reciprocated. And I know that sounds bad, but it's just kind of like, it's sometimes, I don't know how to explain it, but I don't necessarily want to. I want to be there for you, but it's just kind of like, are we friends? Are we still friends? But yeah.
The friendship is, like, it's, you and that person. Like, it takes work on both ends. Like, I understand 100%.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, when your friendship is going down, it's when, like what Glow said, when you're the one always like constantly like planning, but then at the same time, like they're not, reciprocating, or they're not doing their part also, right? And they're just like waiting on you, waiting on you, and also at the same time when you're like, another thing is, when you notice like, oh, we're more of like arguing, I guess, more than we're like enjoy talking about our lives or like sharing stories, all that, right? Instead of like we're just like, even the smallest thing, right, you're arguing about. And I think that's when you start like, oh, seeing the signs that, I think that the friendship, either you guys gotta like reflect on the friendship, or both of you guys just agree to like, I guess, move on.
I want to add on to that. It's actually like, I don't want to say that like as friends you okay, in my opinion, as friends you don't always have to hang out, and like, maybe I know people think of it differently. They're like, yeah, if we're friends, like we should at least hang out once, yeah, definitely, or like hang out like every week, but like everyone's different. But I do want to say is that I feel like another thing I wanted to add on is like, when you're always constantly feeling negative, like when it's just like, when you think about them and it's always just negative, then I feel like that's like when it's actually really bad, because then if you can't really see them in a good light, then
Yeah, I agree. I think like after you have hurt enough, like things just change, right?
Yeah.
You become more guarded, a little more careful around like the words you say or your actions, and sometimes you just kind of just stop opening up like fully. And I think a lot of times people don't even notice that happening, and some people change their ways how they trust people, right? And some people respond to that by just saying like, I'll just trust the people in my faith, or like my church, or but even that's not as simple. So a question I have for you guys is, do you think it's safer to only trust people within your faith, or does betrayal happen everywhere?
I think it doesn't matter if they're Christians or not. I think you still get like have trust issues or argue, because like, a lot of, I think, yes, sometimes faith does come into play, but then at the same time it's just, who you and they are, like how they are. And because if they're all, you could be Christian, but you still could bring like negatives, feelings to in the friendship, and you still like bigger or argue, and not be friends, because like a lot of Christians, their friendship with other Christians are they get just broken too. So it's just not Christians to Christians or Christians and non-Christians. It's Christians and Christians.
I would like to say is that betrayal is everywhere because even Jesus got betrayed, and we betray Jesus every day. So, I think it's not the fact that you're safer, like you're safer with friends in the church. I would like to say though is that I think you do have a higher chance of relating to your Christian friends, right? Especially if you're Christian. But like I said, or like Samson said, everyone is human and everyone will fall, or we fall short. But yeah.
Like the effect that I want to bring up is like it's the Judas effect. Like how you're saying where Jesus was betrayed as well. And what does a healthy friendship look like? I feel like it's understanding that we're not perfect people. We're gonna make mistake. A friendship, it's not like easy road, like how you guys both were saying. It's about consistency, honesty. It's about respect, and honestly, like a mutual growth. And a last question I have for you guys is, for you, like personally, like to reflect on your own, like I guess you could say character, or like your own like friendship to other is, are you becoming the kind of friend you actually want to have in your own lives? Are you the friend that you want other people to be with you?
So like, would I want to be friends with myself, or like would I want to be friends with like?
Yeah. So basically, are you the type of person that, or would you say you're the type of person that you would want to be friends with? Like right now.
Okay.
Especially with like your faith, your values right now. Are you?
Okay. I think yes, definitely for my faith. Like, I would like to say is that I do my best always to go back to Christ, and if like at least for me, when all my friends have told me was that they're thankful that I lead them back to Christ, but not gonna lie, I am pretty emotional, and I'm not gonna lie, I also do get a little defensive when someone says like, I feel like like this, like whenever like a rough situation comes up, I don't want to say. I probably get really defensive, but I don't know. I would like to think is that I think I would be in a good place. Of course, I do have my faults, but I do need that time for myself to process my emotions. But eventually, in the end, I would come back and be like, hey, that's my bad. That's my fault. So yeah, but definitely for faith wise, I would want someone like the type that I'm becoming. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Me, honestly, yes. I'm talking about right now. Me now, yes. Cause I feel like a lot of times have grow, you learn, and you're like, oh, you should be this kind of friend and all that, and you learn from your mistakes and grow from it. So I think the me now, yes, I would be friends with me now, but yeah.
I would like to say I think it's good to be proud of yourself to see how far you've come, but just always be open to grow more. So yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. So again, friendships are complicated, right? Even like with your friends in church, friends outside church, it's always going to be complicated, but that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that we just have to figure out a way to navigate through those kind of friendships. So again, thank you for listening to our podcast. Again, we are the 99, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And I also would like for you guys to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Also, we have Instagram and also our Facebook page as well. So don't forget to follow those as well. And hope to see you guys in the next episode as well. So bye guys. Thank you again.